Hey look, it's a flower. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And it's got this tall stem thing sticking out of it. Cool. Wind pollination occurs when the wind blows the pollen from one plant into the segments of the other. The pollen then gets attracted to the stigma of the other plant. Thus, the plant becomes pollinated. Hey, this plant doesn't have a stigma. Oh wait, the stigma's just inside the plant. The pollen rubs onto the bee by the stigma inside the flower. The bee then flies to another flower, and the pollen on the bee transfers into the other flower. The flower is then pollinated. Hey, it's a grapevine. Did you know they can grow in almost any climate?
Most people would readily agree that this is a flower. Some people may not think that this is a flower though, because it doesn't have brightly colored petals and a strong fragrance and so on. However, grasses are flowering plants. Flowers like these have beautiful flowers mainly to attract the insects and other animals that pollinate them. They use a lot of resources to produce bright petals, smells, nectar, and so on. Grasses have a different strategy, where they transport their pollen from plant to plant on a constant summer breeze. It makes sense to use the wind to distribute pollen, precious water, and nutrients for the other kinds of production. The structure of these types of plants is in such a way that the stigma is placed just above the flower. This way, the wind is able to blow the pollen out of the plant. The pollen becomes loose when it is ready to get blown by the wind. Insects use the stigma to pollinate other plants. For example, the honeybee will rub up against the stigma of the plant and the pollen will stick to the bee's fur. And when the bee flies to another plant, it will pollinate it. And then it produces the seed, and then a flower can be sprouted. The stigma of this plant is placed inside the cup side of the plant, so that the bee is forced to rub against the pollen of the flower. This will then mean that there is more transportation of pollen, thus producing more plants. Animal pollination is when the animal eats the flowers, fruits, or seeds. And through this, the seeds are passed out via the feces. These then pollinate in the ground, giving life to a new plant. These plants are structured in a way that they are tasty to the consumers with their high sugar content. It is essential that the seeds and fruits are easily accessible to the surrounding animals.
Look at that thing, man.
What's that? What's that? Oh my god, it's a dingo!
Oh man!
It's a dingo!
Awesome!
Let's go. Wanna go chase it?
It's got some food in it. It's vomiting it into the mouth! Ah!
The dingoes become sexually mature at the age of 1 and they take a lifetime mate. Breeding takes place only once a year, with the bitch giving birth to between 1 and 8 pups, usually 3 to 4. In the spring, both the male and female dingoes take part in raising the pups, which stay with the parents for a period of 12 months up to 3 years. Pups are born blind, but with good covering of fur in the den. After being weaned, the mother regurgitates food for the pups until they are about 4 months old, when they are capable of starting to try and hunt for themselves. They are able to eat and hunt small game such as rodents and rabbits.
Hey look, it's a frilled-necked lizard.
Oh, cool. And they're not even mating.
That's because they only mate around September, with the female laying from 8 to 23 eggs per clutch in November. Some females can produce 2 clutches of eggs in one season. The hatchlings start appearing usually in early February, weighing around 3 to 5 grams.
Hey, look, it's a penguin! Penguin! Hey, there's a penguin!
There's a penguin over here. Penguin.
The little blue penguin makes their nest in either burrows or rock crevices, lining the nest with plant material. Females arriving at the breeding colonies are met by noisy males courting displays. June through to August is the peak egg-laying time on Australian shores, with 1 or 2 or even sometimes 3 broods being raised. 2 eggs are laid at a time, and it takes 36 days to hatch. Both male and female little penguins incubate the eggs.
Look, it's a kangaroo.
It's got another one of them inside of it.
Joeys are usually weaned for around 1 year of age, but will normally remain close to the mother for another 6 months or so.
What about these kangaroos in the magazine?